You know, as much as I love movies and as seriously as I like to take them, every once in a while, sometimes you just gotta let the kids have one, you know? And this is just one of those movies, so just, come on, let the kids have one, you know? Let them have their own movie once in a while. Why not? Cue the music. Hey, what's up everybody? How's it going? How y'all doing today? Welcome back. And for today's movie, we're talking about We Can Be Heroes. And as much as I respect the fact that this is primarily a kid's movie, I kind of wish they would have done David Bowie a little bit more justice, but oh well, you can't win them all, I guess. As it stands though, for some reason, I always forget, because Robert Rodriguez is a very gritty, very violent filmmaker, like 9 times out of 10, but for some reason, I always forget, every once in a while, he likes to throw out a kid's movie. Just randomly, just for fun. And then you look him up and you realize, oh, the guy's got 5 kids. He probably wants to make a movie for the whole family once in a while, so kind of makes sense. But anyway, the basic plot of the movie, it's about a bunch of superheroes that have all kind of been corporatized, if you will. So they kind of have their own headquarters and there's a whole conglomerate of superheroes and they all have kids. And then one day there's a big threat that happens downtown in the big city. And the main dad in the movie, played by Pedro Pascal, is like, oh, I have this desk job, but I guess I'm gonna have to suit up one more time, but I gotta bring my daughter to work. So abnormally, he brings his daughter to the, kind of heroics headquarters and she goes there to hang out with all the other superhero kids. So Pedro Pascal and all the other heroes go off to fight some aliens, and then they all get captured. So now, all the kids back at headquarters have to escape and try and figure out a way to get all their superhero parents back. And also, side note, I didn't know this, but apparently this movie is either in-universe or some kind of standalone sequel to Shark Boy and Lava Girl. I had no idea. And it turns out I've actually not seen Shark Boy and Lava Girl, and I didn't know that this was going to be a sequel. But you don't need to see that movie. This is like its own. This movie's like its own. It's its own thing, so it's fine. And like I mentioned before, Rodriguez, he's no stranger to making kids movies. Have to say this one is probably not his best, but I still was kind of entertained by it. So I mean, he's Robert Rodriguez. Dude's got skills. I tend to think that Spy Kids is the best, kid-centric thing that he's done, but I mean, that's just me, and I kind of grew up with it, so maybe I'm a little biased. But as far as this movie is concerned, it's really not as well made as a lot of, Robert Rodriguez's other movies. Like, the CGI is really not that good. Like, the special effects are very obviously kind of fake. And some of the superhero outfits felt, they looked a little bit plastic and not real. And the acting was a little, over-emotive, kind of overacting, very, very, everything was enunciated and, everybody's facial expressions were, a little bit more noticeable than normal. But you know what? I will be a monkey's uncle if this movie did not have personality and comedic timing, because I was still kind of entertained by it. And sure, this movie is no Goonies by any stretch of the imagination, but it was still fun. It kept my attention. I was never bored at any point in the movie. And the kids all, I really felt like these kids were all just kind of thrown into a room together, and they're like, well, we gotta figure out how to do this, so let's get it done. And the kids actually played pretty well off of each other. It's like I said, Rodriguez, no stranger to making kids have to deal with each other. Because most of the time, there's a lot of bickering, and well, this movie is no different, but well, what did you expect? I will admit, though, one thing, I was a little bit surprised. The movie was actually pretty decently written, to be honest. The dialogue was fairly decent. None of the kids came off as annoying, which is one of the big, one of the big issues that you come up with when you got a whole ensemble of kids. You run the risk of at least one of them coming off as okay, let's give this kid less screen time. He's kind of annoying. But realistically, I didn't feel that. None of the kids got on my nerves. If one of the kids, some of the kids aren't awesome at acting, but the ones that are younger, they didn't give them as much screen time. They kind of tried to film around that. Again, Robert Rodriguez. Totally used to this kind of filmmaking. Honestly, the worst part of the movie was probably the acting that came from all the adults, which is kind of weird, but I mean, maybe they did that on purpose? I don't know. I thought the cast was kind of cool. They got a decent mix of faces you recognize and faces you don't. I thought that was a pretty good little mix. A lot of the adult characters kind of had chemistry with each other, but a lot of their dialogue, the way they were acting, it kind of felt like the dialogue was being pulled out of them rather than it just kind of erupting from them organically. But at no point in the movie was I bored or okay, can we move on from this? The movie kept it light and it kept it somewhat entertaining, and they tried to inject as much comedy into random little parts as they possibly could, and it had my attention. And from a technical aspect, the cinematography was fine. The fight choreography was really just, it was kind of schlocky and not really, it didn't look like they put too much effort into that. But again, it's a kid's movie. The action doesn't need to be like gritty and realistic. It can just be kind of slapstick and kind of schlocky and just kind of like, just fast and loose. And since the fight scenes were a little bit schlocky, of course the physics didn't really make a whole lot of sense sometimes, but again, I didn't expect it to. Like, that's just part of the charm that the movie was giving off. That's what it was there for. And again, another surprising thing is I actually really enjoyed the ending because it rounded off a couple things and it justified a few things that happened, like, throughout earlier bits in the movie. I mean, despite the entire third act of the movie, again, very schlocky, very, like, it was kind of sloppy if I'm being completely honest, but at the end of the day, it was cute. Like, this is just a cute movie, man. But at the end of the day, guys, there's a little bit of something in this movie for pretty much everybody. So even if you're, like, stuck, babysitting a bunch of kids and you gotta watch this movie, it's honestly not the worst movie you could have to sit through. So it's not my type of movie. I'm probably not gonna watch it again anytime soon. But as it stands, I think for a score overall out of 10, I think I'm gonna give it just a 6.5. The kids are adorable. They say funny things once in a while. The adults are a little goofy, but whatever. Like, sometimes you just gotta play one for the family, you know what I mean? And this is that one, so there you go. But anyway, guys, those are my thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts? Have you seen this movie? Have you heard of it? Did you watch Shark Boy and Lava Girl before this? Hop in the comments, let me know what's up. Besides that, if you like this video, give me a like, subscribe, share, hit the bell, do all the other usual YouTube shenanigans, and I will catch you guys next time.